What's up, YouTube? On this episode of Coddiwomple Overland, we're going to continue our overlanding adventure in the Northeast by hopping on the NEBDR. Coddiwomple Overland is proudly powered by Cummins Off-road, where you can completely outfit your vehicle and still retain their lifetime powertrain warranty. We are also brought to you in part by Overland Vehicle Systems, Trail Rated Coffee, Skinny Guy Campers, and more Expo. Also, if you're looking for some of our merch, make sure and check out shop.overlandapparel.com. When we left you on the last episode, we told you that we had found camp in Bingham, Maine. But what we didn't tell you was it was a newly formed hip camp, complete with a teepee. We packed up camp pretty quick and hit the road. After several hundred miles in the wilderness and looking for a moose on every corner, we finally found one going into the town of Bingham. As we continued to head south and east, it looked like the majority of the day was going to be pretty wet. What we didn't know is the rain wouldn't be the only water we seen. There was going to be several stream crossings as well as lakes that we were going to be passing by throughout the day. By this point, we have finally gotten on to the North East BDR. The North East BDR is a backcountry discovery route that runs from the Canadian border to New York. While you're on this BDR, you're going to be able to see awesome sights like the falls here just below Flagstaff Lake. In addition to the streams and rivers, there's all kinds of these marshland lakes. We had finally found the Maine backcountry that we were looking for. With the weather the way it was, we decided the best thing for us today was to find one of those famous local diners that we always look for.
Yeah, I drank it anyway, but it was very, very sweet.
And that's how we found the Looney Moose Cafe in Stratton, Maine.
Not much left of yours, Kelly.
Nope, gone.
After thanking Bullwinkle for a great meal, it was time to get back on the road. Overlanding in the Northeast is a unique experience. Not only do you have the beautiful backcountry roads, but you also go through these old historic towns. There are also hundreds and hundreds of lakes up here. This one we had to stop at and just spend a few minutes.
Go get it.
The colors were changing before our very eyes, and we were hoping that soon the fog would lift and the blue skies would pop out, as it was predicted for the day. By the time we got to the community of Byron, the weatherman had gotten it right and the blue skies were starting to appear. This is also where we found the Swift River. Now, the Swift River not only is incredible, but you can also find gold in it. As a matter of fact, people come from all around still to pan gold out of this very river. We left Byron thinking maybe we should have grabbed a pan and tried our luck at finding gold, but we decided to move on and look for other treasures. Yeah, that's what I think.
I wonder what that is.
Mm-hmm. By the time evening got to us, we had struck out on a dispersed campsite in this area, but we did find the Mount Blue State Park.
Yeah, and a fire. I dropped my phone. That was a bad sneak.
The end had finally come to another long day, and Deb and Aspen had give up for the night.
Now mine's got 4 pounds.
The next morning was our coldest morning so far. The rain had finally gone away, and the Canadian air was making its way in. The cold weather didn't freeze our spirits any. It was still time for some trail-ready coffee and bacon in an iron skillet.
Oh, God. Oh, do you want me to rinse it? I thought you had it all set up already.
After warming our bellies with breakfast and coffee, it was time to get moving. As we made our way through Greenwood, Maine, we came upon the Patch Mountain Cemetery. The best we could tell, it dated back to the early 1800s.
Conversation, and you have kind of a personal connection to the main trail system.
Well, the Maine ATV trail system, it says respect landowners and stay on the marked trail. So one of the cool things about the Maine ATV trail system is the fact that it's private property. So it's public recreation on private land. And the state of Maine actually patterned this after the Hatfield-McCoy trail system in West Virginia.
Now, you had some involvement with that, didn't you?
And I did have some involvement in that. I was part of building the first 300 miles of the Hatfield-McCoy trail system, which was the pioneering trail system for public recreation on private property. Now, Deb and I took that a step further with our own business and was part of the Kentucky ATV trails that are in Knott County and Breathitt County, some of the other counties, and we also did part of the trail development plan for the Spearhead Trails in Virginia.
So you really have been a trailblazer in these public-private partnerships for ATV and off-road tourism.
For decades.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you for all that effort that's paying off for us now.
Well, and I'm glad we're able to take these vehicles and overland across the properties that they're actually allowing the ATVs across. It's pretty cool.
It is really cool. And like the sign says, when you're on a lot of these trails that are the public-private partnerships, be very respectful of the off-trail land, because it is private landowners who are allowing you to use their land.
Yeah, and it's been the case for years that the easy thing for the National Forest Service and BLM is if they have a problem, they just close it. You know, so we're depending on, especially on the East Coast, we're depending on private landowners to allow us to do this type of recreation.
Yeah, so again, yeah, it's really important to be very respectful, stay on the marked trail, and
Yeah,
you know, just remember, somebody's letting you use their property and treat it like that.
absolutely. Just respect the trail, follow the tread lightly principles, and stay the trail. After taking a step back in time and paying our respects, we continued on down Patch Mountain Road.
There's one here too, look. See it?
On both sides. Wonder just how old this road is that we're traveling.
Oh, it's old. Well, it's got to be that cemetery like 1850s.
I think it's really cool how you come up on these old farms, seemingly in the middle of nowhere. The further we traveled throughout the day, the worse, well, the better the trails became. You know, when we go out west and we think about the old houses out and how old they are out there, to think some of these in this part of the United States could predate them by almost 100 years or more. Out there like a house.
Yeah.
By lunch, we made it to Melby's General Store in North Waterford, Maine, only to be saddened by the news that they were going to be closing in less than a week.
That looks. What else is going on?
Corned beef and sauerkraut.
As we sat and had lunch here, and we watched the locals have what could possibly have been their last lunch at this monumental place, if only these walls could talk, and talk about the last 100 years that this building has stood here. We grabbed up a few extra supplies, glad that we could come and visit this historic place and just check it out one time before it closed its doors. When you see old stores like this, you always want to stop and check them out. You never know how much longer they're going to be open. After a great lunch and stepping back out of another time capsule, we headed west out of North Waterford. As we made our way closer to Mount Washington, we was hoping that the weather was going to clear up on the mountaintop to be able to make it to the summit.
No.
As we made it closer and closer to Mount Washington, you could tell the ceilings were getting lower and lower in the skies, and the clouds were getting a lot thicker.
Oh, look, you can see a shelf cloud forming.
Making it to the summit of Mount Washington was just not in the cards for us. The guard station there told us that there was 95-mile-an-hour winds and ice at the top.
Ow! He needs to get out and run. Quit.
After stopping and letting Aspen take a little break, we continued along the BDR. By the time we had made it around the backside of Mount Washington, the sun had completely given way to rain, and it looked like it was going to set in this area for the rest of the day. Even with the rain coming down the way it was, we couldn't not stop at the Flume Cascade. This was absolutely breathtaking. The further we got away from Mount Washington, the clearer the skies became. We even found a rainbow or two.
I would think it will.
The sun came out just in enough time for it to start hiding behind the mountains and the trees. We'd located a Forest Service road within the White Mountain National Forest to start looking for a place to camp. The only problem is every dispersed campsite had some type of makeshift tent, tarp, chairs, or something where people were blocking these campsites. I guess they were trying to hold them for the weekend. Problem was, it was only Thursday. We went all the way to the end of the Forest Service road, and there was only one campsite that was actually taken by campers. The wind was supposed to pick up tonight, and it already had, as evidence of this one that had fallen across the road on our way back out. After helping remove the tree from the road, we were on our way to find us another forest area to where we could find a good dispersed campsite. But this time the sun was surely setting, and finding a camp was going to be more difficult. But we found campsites in the dark before. We had made it to another area of the National Forest, hoping that we would have better luck at finding a campsite. The only thing we found was another tree, and this one was bigger than the last.
That is when you have rigid lights.
We left this area and searching for another one, and at this point a tree actually fell and hit Kelly's truck as we were driving by, and I ran over it. We were lucky neither one of us had took any damage or got hurt.
I'd say we probably all have dents from this tree hitting us or just falling on you.
Stayed in the woods when it's been this windy just for that reason. And you know, we've seen 3 trees that's been blown down in the last hour.
Yeah, no, you're right. And and I haven't seen a campsite around here that is native.
We decided to take the 3 fallen trees as hints and get a motel for the night and get out of the wind. The next morning the weather was much better as we started our way into New Hampshire, but you'll have to wait till the next episode to see that part of the North East BDR. I hope you've enjoyed the series so far, and until next time, see ya.